We're on our second lesson as we look at the addiction cycle. Last week we talked about triggers, and we looked at our internal triggers, which is emotions and feelings and how they display themselves and how they affect us. And then we looked at external triggers, and we found those to be the people, places, things, and situations.
Yeah.
And so today we're going to talk about cravings. Cravings. As you look at the cycle, it starts with the emotional triggers, then it goes to cravings, then it talks about rituals. We'll look at that next week. And then it goes into the using, where we actually have picked up and started the using. And once we start that, then we'll feel with that guilt and shame, as I said last week, and the cycle just repeats itself over and over for years.
Yeah.
And it's the same way every time. And our rituals are the same. You know, it's not like we go out and find new ways to fall off, or we go out and get new emotional triggers, or we go out and get new external triggers. It's the same.
That's right.
And I found out that our God is not in the social promotion. Y'all hear me say that almost every Saturday.
Yeah.
Until we overcome it, we don't graduate.
Right.
It has nothing to do with how special you are, how cute you think you are, how smart you are. None of that matters. The disease of addiction is no respecter of person.
Right.
You got to overcome this, or you stay stuck.
Yeah.
And that's how we stay stuck in this cycle of addiction for 20 years, 30 years, and whatever. And it's likening itself to what they call institutionalization.
Yeah.
And you see people that get into the system and they just can't get out, and they continue to go back to prison every time they get out. And what they say is that those people are institutionalized.
That's right.
And it's the same thing in here with addiction, because we have the same rituals and we fall off the same way. And so at some point we have to learn. And all last week we looked at coping mechanisms to how we would deal with those triggers.
That's right.
And how we would deal with those cravings.
That's right.
Because what we're going to talk about today is that cravings are normal.
Yeah.
And everybody gonna have them.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just like you trying to lose weight, and that don't mean that cake stop tasting good.
That's
Or
right.
ice cream stop tasting good, right? You just gotta figure out a way how not to eat it.
That's
But you can pray all you want to, but you still gonna have to not eat the cake.
That's right.
You're gonna still get the feeling and walk through the grocery store and say, sure would be nice to have some of that blueberry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, you would have thought we had a national crisis a couple of years ago when it was contaminated at the blueberry warehouse, and people just in America just went into a panic.
Yeah.
I'm not a big ice cream person, so that one didn't really bother me, but it were people that was going through withdrawals. I have any people in here that went through withdrawals when the bluebell factory. They had people lined up at the grocery stores when they announced it's coming back out on whatever day. Well, them people went and got that bluebell.
They went and got it.
Because they didn't just want ice cream, they wanted bluebell.
Yeah.
I guess that's better than the others. I don't know.
Yeah.
That one missed me. But I know what it feels like to want to use drugs and alcohol and can't.
And again. Yeah.
I know how that feels.
Yeah.
And I know how it feels that, let me say it another way. Just because you have a craving, don't mean you have to use it.
That's right.
All right?
That's
Because
right.
you're going to continue to have cravings.
That's right.
Just like them people continually wanted that blueberry.
That's right.
And when you're on a diet, you want some cake. Most of the times, you don't want the stuff is bad until you find out you can't have it.
Can't have it.
I bet you all these people in here that wanted that bluebell wasn't eating bluebell that much. But once they found out they couldn't have it,
Yeah.
they went into a panic.
Yeah.
Having cravings and urges for drugs is normal for anyone who has, check this word out, habitually used drugs and is now trying to give it up.
Yeah.
It is because we have habitually used it. We have used it repetitively for a long time, and our brain is wired to want it.
That's right.
And so once we can have it, it sends our body and our mind into withdrawals and
That's right.
shock.
That's right.
No matter how motivated you are to stay off drugs, at some point, you will probably have a sudden desire to use again.
Yeah.
And that's what throws us off. We think that just because I'm motivated, and just because I say I'm going to quit,
My.
I'm not going to have a craving no more.
My.
Check it out, check this out. Cravings are not a sign that you're not motivated
Right.
to want to stop.
That's right.
All right?
That's right.
Cravings are not a sign that you are not working your program either.
That's right.
Cravings are not that you are not saved.
That's right.
They are natural.
That's it.
And a lot of times, just because we have them, we get defeated.
Yeah.
That it must be something wrong with my relationship with God. No,
That's right.
I must not be working the program. No, that's not what it is either. They're natural.
Natural.
Because you have been doing this repetitively
Yeah.
and habitually for a long time,
Yeah.
you're going to have cravings.
Yeah.
The Big Book says it this way. On page 451 in the 3rd edition, it says that if you find the alcoholic and ask him, do you wish for a drink?
Mama.
And he says no, he's a lie and the truth ain't in it.
That's right. That's right.
Y'all catch that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because how all of a sudden I've been doing this for 20 years
Right.
and now just because I stopped, now I don't want to?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I still want to.
I've been clean 24 years.
Yeah.
I still want to get high.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought about it a while ago. Matter of fact, I went out there and the sun was shining,
Yeah.
and I seen another brother with his top down.
Yeah.
You know, I said, I'm going to take my top off my car, and, you know, and then I got to thinking, I said, sure, it would be nice to have a beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they kind of go with it.
Yeah.
80
Yeah.
degrees,
Yeah.
top down,
Yeah. Beer. Yeah.
music playing,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and a beer.
And a beer. Yeah.
That's what I said. 24 years clean, just left Bible study,
Yeah. Yeah.
and walked right out there
Yeah.
and thought about having a beer.
Yeah.
So, oh, Lord.
That's it. That's
Prayed
it.
and walked back in here and,
That's it.
and read this pamphlet again.
Yeah.
But that's not a sign that I'm not working the program. That's not a sign that's just a sign that I have associated triggers.
Right.
And I associate certain things with getting high.
Getting high.
But I don't have to get high,
That's
but the thought gonna come.
That's
It is
right.
just the thought.
That's right.
And we have all kind of crazy thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, don't we?
Yes, sir.
You know, somebody say something to you, you think about hitting them, don't mean you're going to hit them.
That's right.
Even the kindest people think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You thought about it before, right? Yeah, don't mean you're going to slap somebody. All y'all that ain't never struck nobody, they thought about it, right?
That's right.
Said, sure would be nice if I just,
Uh-huh.
you know. What was it, the honeymooners?
Honeymoon.
And Ralph Crandon would say, to the moon.
Yeah.
You know, they never showed him hitting his wife, but every episode,
Yeah. Yeah.
he thought about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not only striking her, but sending her to the moon. That was before domestic violence was big, when a man could say that on TV.
Yeah.
Some of y'all probably too young. Some of y'all remember that, don't it?
Oh, yeah.
Don't you? He
Oh,
said,
yeah.
to the moon.
To the moon. To the moon, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cravings are especially strong in the first 90 days.
Oh my.
Now, we have two sets of 90 days for those of y'all that are in here. The first 90 days in treatment are difficult. But you go right back through that process again the first 90 days that you leave.
Yeah.
Because not using in treatment is not the same as not using once you leave.
That's right.
Matter of fact, it's more difficult.
That's
That
right.
second 90-day trip is harder because now you're exposed to all of your emotional triggers and all your external triggers.
Yeah.
And so it becomes difficult again, if that makes sense. Although strong cravings are normal, it is essential that you not act on the cravings or use them as an excuse to get high. Cravings last in their intensity 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Then they go away. They recede like the tide when you go to the beach.
That's right.
You know, they come and they go.
Yeah.
And they come and they go. But what we have to do is do something. And to take our mind off it, stop and pray and think it through and call somebody. And that's stuff that we have in our relapse mode packet.
Yeah.
But more than that, there are some things that I can do that we have around here called our daily maintenance.
That's right.
So if I am mentally and spiritually fit, I am better apt to handle those cravings.
That's right.
But if I don't do nothing, they're going to eventually overtake me. And that's why we keep coming back into places like this, because we don't do nothing.
Yeah.
You know, we just think we can white knuckle it and just say, I'm not going to get high, I'm not going to get high. And then before you know it, we went and got high because we didn't do nothing. This program is about action.
Action.
Cravings can threaten your ability to get off drugs and stay off drugs, especially if you misinterpret them or fail to deal with them. For example, you may feel guilty or disappointed by having cravings because you see them as a sign of not recovering right. You may try to ignore them because you feel that you shouldn't be having thoughts about wanting to get high. Or you may assume incorrectly that once a craving starts, it will invariably get so strong that you will not be able to resist getting high. That's not true either.
That's not true.
You may feel like you're going to die, but you ain't going to die.
You don't die.
You know, it is, Reverend Shelley used to say it like this: it is better to suffer and not use than to use and then suffer. I got to figure out which hell I'm going to deal with.
That's right.
The hell of fighting through a craving and not getting high, or giving in and then going and getting high. That second one is worse.
That's worse.
Now, I may be all nervous and reckless, irritable and discontent. Now, I may cause hell with everybody else and want to get high, and I'm, you know, but it's sure better than me going out disappearing. And all of the consequences that go after me. You know, so you don't get clean without suffering. There is no growth in nothing without suffering. Y'all know that?
That's right.
People that get a degree, they go to college, they struggle through school.
Right.
Even the good students, because college is hard.
That's right.
You know, people that work out, you know, that's hard to work out.
That's hard.
Y'all like me, I want a six-pack for the summer. But I don't want to do no working out. I just want to wish up on a six-pack. So everybody go with me. Bussey, we wish you have a six-pack. Come on, let's try it one more time. Bussey, we wish you have a six-pack.
Nope.
Did it work?
Nope.
Y'all don't know how to wish right. But that's how we do with recovery. We just hope and wish we stay clean. And we don't do nothing. And wonder why we keep going out. You can't wish up on it. And family members, you can't wish up on it for them either.
That's right.
This is something that the individual has to do for themselves. And that's hard for the person that loves somebody, where you find out that you are just as powerless as they are. Because you done prayed, you done loved them, you done all of that, and it didn't do anything. That's why I ask them all the time when they come with family, I said, now who wants you to be here the most? You or the person that brought you? And if they tell me, it's my mama, I say, you're not ready. You go back out there and suffer some more until you want this more than the person that brought you. Because it doesn't work. And Herman says pain is a motivator. So you go out there and suffer enough, you come to yourself like the prodigal son, and then you'll come back to them and you'll say, will you take me back to that place? I think I'm ready now. That's how it works. You ain't got to even search the internet. They start making the calls for themselves. I tell females all the time, I like, especially mothers and wives, they'll be calling.
Yeah.
And I like, so where's your son or your husband?
Yeah.
He's sitting right here. Then why are you calling me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I say something crazy to him. I say, hang up and have him call back. No, I can just hand him the phone. No, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hang up.
Yeah. Hang on.
Have him to dial a number and call back.
Yeah.
Because you're starting the pattern of you trying to do for him what he needs to do for himself.
That's right.
And so when we heard enough, we'll call for ourselves.
Yeah.
We'll call for ourselves.
Well.
The purpose of this section is to educate you about cravings and to help you develop a specific plan for preventing cravings from leading to drug use. And we're just going to look at 6 facts and we'll be through. Number 1, cravings are an impulsive or spontaneous desire to use drugs. They're often accompanied by feelings of anxiety, restlessness, or thoughts of how good it would feel to get high. Key word there, sometimes y'all, they're spontaneous. What does that mean? I can just be going on about my day, ain't thinking about getting high, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I have this overwhelming desire to get high. That's why it says in the big book, if you ask the addict when they get back why they got high, they can't explain it. What we have to learn how to do, we can ask them what happened. You know, that's just education. You know, we don't kind of know, you know, what happened. Then people tell you what happened, but they can't really explain why.
That's right.
You know, you be cooking and you say, well, you run to the store to get some bread and they be 3 weeks getting back. And you be like, you had that planned. And in reality, they did not have it planned. They hadn't even thought about it. But once they was driving down the road, they had a spontaneous, overwhelming desire to go and they just disappeared. Then y'all mad, you had that plan all along. No, not necessarily. It's just spontaneous.
That's right.
The last time I got high in 1992, I promise you, getting high wasn't on my mind. Because I was asked, man, you all right? Sure, I'm all right. And I meant it. An hour later, I was smoking like a broke stove. And I wasn't thinking about it, but it just all of a sudden hit me. Now, I have been doing some things that made me more vulnerable than other times. And we all go out of relapse mode 2 or 3 times a day. We're all vulnerable from time to time. All of us. No matter how motivated you are to get high, that don't mean you're going to get high. It just means you're vulnerable. Now, we all know, it's kind of like, you know, we talked about the cake. Now, if I just put the cake all around, I'm just sitting in the room with the cake and ice cream, and I'm trying to be on a diet. Probably. I'm going to eat some cake and ice cream, right? You know, cake, carrots. Cake, salad. You know, come on, man. After a while, I'll be like, man, I'm going to stop all this playing. These carrots and celery, ain't doing it. I'm just going to give me some cake. I'm going to start next week. You know you're in trouble when you're always going to start next week. I started next week for about 15 years before I was going to quit. Because I had to get my heart and mind right. I heard a brother outside talking about he going on a diet. And he said, you know, I'm starting Monday. And the brother said, man, you said that last Monday. I'm talking about this Monday, man. This Monday. Cravings are usually triggered by something. People, places, things, or feelings associated with your use. They're normally, not always, that's why I put normally. They're normally triggered, y'all. They're not always triggered by something, but normally. I done seen something, and we have this thing called associated thoughts. And associated feelings that we just associate certain things with getting high. Or somebody may say something to me in a certain way, and it'll bring up some feelings from the past. And you ever say something to somebody or do something, and it brings out some anger that you know don't really fit the situation. But what really you have done is triggered something.
That's right.
And they thought about something from their past or something that had happened to them before, and they just got angry.
That's right.
And it really wasn't you.
Right.
But they just associate that. I ain't nobody want to ever talk to me like that again. You're like, whoa, man.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You know,
That's right.
from the past. Because they're associated with it. That makes sense?
Yes,
sir.
Cravings tend to be strongest and occur most frequent in the first weeks after you stop using. Craving diminish as abstinence continues. What that looks like, y'all, in the beginning when we first start trying to quit, we have overwhelming cravings, strong cravings. You know, so much so that our body reacts.
Yeah.
But the longer you stay clean, you really just have thoughts of using. You don't really have overwhelming cravings.
That's right.
My body don't react no more.
That's right.
But I can induce a craving if I don't do something.
Yeah.
You know, if I just sit it and I think about it, like if I would have sat out there and said, sure, it would be nice
Right.
to get a beer,
Right.
ride around, go to the park, turn some locks, and then the more I think about it, the worse that craving gets, and the more overwhelming the craving gets, because I haven't broke that cycle.
My.
That's why we say stop and pray and think it through.
Yeah.
And so then I go to, I'm going to sell my car,
Yeah.
I'm going to spend my money,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be barefooted,
Yeah.
and homeless, and jobless, and typically that'll bring me back to reality.
Yeah.
Because I don't like down one of them situations.
That's right.
You know? But what happens is, like it says on page 24, we can't bring back into our mind with sufficient force the pain, the suffering, and the humiliation of a week or even a month ago. We're without mental defense, the book says, against the first drink. Why? Because I can't bring those consequences back. I block them out. And I start lying to myself and saying, ain't nothing gonna happen. I'm just gonna do one.
Yeah.
The disease never tells you the truth.
Yes.
It's like Satan.
That's right.
It's a liar.
That's right.
It'll never come to you and say, go and use dope, sell all of your goods, lose your job, and be homeless.
That's right.
If it came like that, you know what you would do? You would say, no, that's not inviting. He said, go get one.
Yeah. Just one.
And have a party.
Yeah.
And then go home.
Yeah.
And then it says this. Ain't nobody gonna know.
Ain't nobody gonna know.
Ain't nobody gonna know.
That's what it said.
It's just between me and you.
And you. Yeah.
And then it keep you out there and expose you.
That's right.
And then it says, nobody tell you to go. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
I ain't schizophrenic, y'all. I just have some voices in my head.
Yeah.
Because the NA text says it's at least one other person up here in Athens.
At least.
At least. That means that it could be more. But it's at least one other person.
Yeah.
That's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't mean you bipolar.
Yeah.
You just bipolar-ish.
Bipolar-ish.
Don't mean you schizophrenic. You just schizophrenic. Because the disease talks to you.
Yeah.
And let me tell y'all this right here. You better learn to talk back to it.
Yeah.
You better learn to talk back to it.
That's right.
Don't worry about nobody
That's
thinking you crazy.
That's right.
You in the store and that thing is telling you, go get one. You might as well just say, I'm not going and getting one. That is a lie. They be like, it is better that than going home than it is to try to, nobody think you crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
I talk back to mine.
That's right.
Now Christians will say, the devil is a lie. You ever hear Christians say that out loud? Get thee behind me, Satan. They say that, don't they? Out loud.
Yeah.
Why you can't say that?
Yeah.
Just use their terminology then.
Yeah.
Say the devil is a lie.
Devil is a lie. Yeah.
Get thee behind me, Satan. We can say that, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, say that, because you may be ashamed. I ain't ashamed. I just don't talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I ain't gonna get high. I don't want to be homeless.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That's okay.
It's amazing we come into a program and we be afraid that somebody may think we crazy. But guess what, y'all?
Yeah.
That cat out the bag. Everybody already think that.
Yeah.
That's why they shout when you get restored to sanity.
Yeah.
Check this out. Step 2 says, came to believe that a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity. If I need to be restored to sanity, what does that mean? Because the opposite of sanity
Yeah.
insanity. So if I need to be restored to sanity, that means just cray.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And it's okay. It's okay. Cravings are natural.
Yes.
And you don't have to get high. That's the wonderful thing about this thing. That when we come in here, one day at a time, for the rest of our lives, I never have to use again.
Yeah.
What the program gives me is choice.
Yeah.
That's what I never had in the first place.
That's it.
Because long time ago, before I stopped using, I wanted to stop long time ago. I just couldn't. One, I didn't have the tools necessary to quit.
Right.
3, I wanted to have life the way I wanted it and still keep using the kind of, the drugs I wanted to use.
Yeah.
So I tried to bargain with it, but once I came through the program and I learned this information and started applying it, I had a choice.
Yeah.
And that's all the program does. The NA program says it has one promise: the freedom from active addiction. It don't mean you're going to make a whole bunch of money. It don't mean you're going to get your family back. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that you have the freedom from active addiction.
Yeah.
And I don't have to get high today. That's a wonderful thing.
That's a wonderful thing.
That I can have $10 in my pocket and I ain't got to go and get high.
Yeah.
I used to couldn't get nowhere near $10.
Yeah.
Because I was going to go.
Yeah.
That's just where it was. I get up to 8, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm going to crumble that up and try to give it to one of them youngsters and say it's 10 and hope they can't count fast.
Yeah.
Because them youngsters can't count fast. I just ball it up. Here you go, baby. School! Just me. Y'all didn't do that. But I had to. Y'all with me?
Yeah.
But once I learned, now I have choice, and I am so happy that I don't have to get high today.
Yeah.
And that's why you hear people in recovery say that I don't choose to get high today.
Yeah.
Hear that all the time in the program.
Yeah.
I am so grateful that today I don't choose to get high, or I have the choice not to get high. Because guess what? Just like in the book of Genesis, where we have free will, the program don't take your family members' will from them.
Right.
See, I can still leave here and go get that beer.
Right.
Ain't nothing stopping me.
Right.
I had about $3, $4. That's enough to get a beer, I believe.
Yeah.
Last time I checked. So I can go, ain't nothing stopping me.
Yeah.
But I have a choice today not to go.
That's right.
So I'm going to try to leave here and go home.
Yeah.
But not make that choice. Somebody call me and make sure I make it.
We will.
Because it don't always mean just because you've been clean for a while that you're going to make it to your appointed destination.
That's right.
Because sometimes I done just call people and have people to talk me all the way to where I'm going.
Yeah.
Because I like to talk. And so if I get to running my mouth on a subject that ain't got nothing to do with using, I'll forget about using.
Yeah.
Because I just be running my mouth talking about something before I know it, I'd be at home. Be like, golly, I done made it home.
Yeah.
And I forgot to get high.
Got to get out.
But that was my intentions at first. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got to find something to do to distract you. That make sense?
Yes, sir.
I think we're number 5, right? Number 4. The intensity of a craving does not fade merely with the passage of time, but as a result of not reinforcing the craving with drugs. Cravings lose power little by little each time you respond to the craving by not using. And that's what happened. They just lessen and they just lessen, like I was saying. Number 5, cravings are always temporary and tend to disappear quickly, especially when immediate action is taken to shortcut them. And that just means, y'all, when the thought comes, you got to do something.
Yes.
And a lot of times we are lazy with doing something.
Yeah.
You know, or we have a fear of telling somebody that we want to use or we had a thought to use because we think that they would think less of us.
Yeah.
And so that's why I always share, and people always say, man, you've been clean 24 years and you still have cravings?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not ashamed.
Yeah.
Because as long as I share them, I ain't got to act upon them.
That's right.
Now, if that makes someone think less of me, then that's on you.
Yeah.
You're going to think less of me once I go with you.
That's right.
So I'd rather do all I need to do up front. And so learn to share with somebody. Now, let me say something. I believe in my anonymity.
Yeah.
I truly do. Outside of this room and outside of this church, I am very selective on who I share
Right.
me being in recovery with.
Right.
I don't tell nobody.
Right.
Recovery gave me the freedom to go into life and function like a normal person.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And the fellowship says the only time I need to break my anonymity is when the hand of the fellowship reaches out.
Right.
So if I see somebody struggling, I'll share my story. But other than that, I don't tell nobody.
Yeah. That's right.
It's not that I'm ashamed. It just ain't your business.
That's right.
I got clean to live normal.
That's right.
When I wasn't working here on my jobs, I didn't tell nobody.
Yeah.
You know. And if y'all see me, don't break my anonymity.
That's right.
Let me tell my own story.
That's right. That's
You know, you don't need to be, hey, Brother Bussey, it's Friday, 8-5. You know, we got a brother that came through the program, you know, and he always, hey, crackhead. I said, man, if you see me out, don't greet me like that, man. I don't really like it around here. But don't do that, man. We're going to fall out. You know, don't do that. Oh, you shame. No, I'm not shame, man, but I got clean. I don't need nobody saying that in the mall.
Yeah.
Hey, crackhead. I don't know how to respond to that. You know, seriously, I told you. You know. Now, like if you're dating somebody or something like that, you need to let them know up front. Early in the process. Because they have a right not to get into a relationship with somebody that's in recovery if they don't want to. But when me and my wife got married, she told her mom, and I said, look, man, I'll tell the rest of the people, you don't need to do that. I tell my own story now. You know, your mom and your dad, you know, everybody got to know that you married. You know, I don't think she really wanted to know. She wasn't in no hearing herself to say, oh, hey. This is Obie. He smokes crack. But he been clean for She wasn't in no hearing sharing no way. I don't think. We're going to edit that off the tape. But your anonymity doesn't mean, please hear me, your anonymity is a wonderful thing. All right? Go at that. Ain't nothing wrong with wearing the big NA t-shirts and the key tags and all that. If that's your thing, it just ain't mine.
Yeah.
I got clean so that I can function in the
right.
world.
That's right.
You know, I don't walk down the street just because I'm a Christian. I don't walk down the street with no big old cross and a big
That's
King
right.
James Bible either.
That's right. That's right.
You know, the Bible says in the book John 15, you know a tree by the fruit that it bears.
Yeah.
And so if I ain't bearing no fruit, me carrying a big old Bible ain't gonna mean nothing no way.
That's right.
And I think it's more impactful when you go out and live and
Yeah.
somebody don't know you in recovery,
Yeah.
and then once you share with them,
Yeah.
and they be like, man, you don't look like that.
Right.
That's the power of God.
That's
Then
the
you
power.
say it's by the grace of God that I don't look like my past.
That's it.
That's when your story has more power.
That's right.
I believe. That's just for me.
Yeah.
Do with that what you will. Now, it's a difference, y'all, between anonymity and privacy and somebody not knowing that you're in this program. See, this program is a part of a church.
Yeah.
So autonomy, I mean, you know, you can't have that here.
Right.
Because this is a public place. Somebody gonna find out. We ain't one of the places where you can go, you know, to a resort or off into the woods and ain't nobody know you there. Chances are, you gonna see somebody
Yeah.
that you grew up with,
Yeah.
somebody you used to work with, somebody that know your mama, and then somebody gonna find out you here.
Yeah.
So you know, that ain't gonna be able to work.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, that, I'm sorry. I wish you could hide here, but
Yeah. Can't have it.
chances are somebody gonna find out.
Yeah.
My first Sunday here, I sat down and one of my auntie friends was saying, hey boy, we so glad your crazy self here. I'm like, not her, out of everybody.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be a wonderful thing because she watched me like a hawk. You know, but that's just what it was.
Yes, sir.
And come to find out, about 5 people I went to high school with was over there at the time and they still over there.
Yeah.
Like, golly, I ain't never been to this church, but I come to this program and like I know all these people over here.
Yeah.
And they were glad that I was here.
Yeah.
You know, and the ones that wasn't, you know, ain't really matter.
Yeah.
It don't really matter. You know, and some were laughing.
Yeah.
And they had it right, because I done some laughable things.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so don't worry about that. Somebody may find out. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You know. That's why the camera is just on me and ain't on the rest of y'all, because we don't want. It's a secret. Last one. The purpose of this section is to educate you about cravings and to help you develop a specific plan for preventing drug cravings from leading to drug use. Sum it up and we're through. Cravings are natural.
Yeah.
Cravings are going to come. Just because you have a craving doesn't mean that you have to use.
That's right.
We're going to teach your family member specific actions to take to overcome a craving. Now, it is up to them to put them into action. There is no program that can guarantee that somebody gonna get clean.
That's right.
Because you got to use them.
Yeah.
And it's just like anything else. The more you practice it, the better at it you become.
That's it.
One of the other things that get us high, we don't use them. And then once we get in trouble, we try to jump and use them at the end, and we're not used to use them. It's like anything else.
That's right.
So you got to practice this program. Practice.
That's it.
Practice don't make perfect. Practice makes better.
Yeah.
Y'all with me?
Yeah.
And then you do that, you don't have to get high. So last week we looked at triggers, emotional triggers, internal, external. Today we looked at cravings and found out that they're natural and we're going to have them. But just because I have a craving don't mean that I want to use, that I have to use. I have to think more about the outcome and the results.
Oh my.
Some things, y'all, just worth suffering for. Isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I found this out. that a grateful addict is a sober addict.
Yeah.
And I found out that recovery is an offensive game rather than a defensive game.
Yeah.
I don't spend all of my time trying not to get high. Matter of fact, I don't spend hardly no time in my day trying not to get high.
That's right.
I spend my day trying to enjoy life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once I learn how to enjoy life, then I have something to hold on to, and then I don't want that.
That's right.
But when you just try to spend your day just trying not to get high, trying not to get high,
Right.
then you're going to probably get high. That's a defensive game.
Yeah.
You need to find you something to be grateful for
Yeah. Yeah.
and something to hold on to
Yeah.
and start to enjoy life.
Yes, sir.
That's why they say this thing is about attraction rather than promotion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we got to have fun.
That's right.
And everybody's fun is relative and different. You know. But all of y'all, when y'all get out of here, go have fun.
Yeah.
Get you a bucket list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
One of the reasons some of y'all don't stay clean long, because y'all don't do nothing. You get clean and go to work and sit home and be miserable.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you're high. You better bungee jump or something.
Yeah.
Skydive.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you like to do.
Yeah.
You better find you something to do.
That's right.
And enjoy it. You can turn that off.